All right, Tigers, here we go. Unit 12-6, Tuesday the 14th. Note, a little bit different format. The district wants us to sort of standardize what's going on. So if you'll note, basically every teacher should have something along this idea here. So this is how my format, I emailed this to you. It's posted as an announcement. It's also in Blackboard. So everybody now knows and understands what they need to have done. Okay? And I will live update this as more and more things happen. So for instance, as soon as this podcast is over, it's going to go right here. It'll be a live link. You can just click on it right there at that point. Any homework will be here. I have to upload the link for the reading, and then on Friday I will make the link for the reading quiz live and active for you guys to take. Okay? Office hours haven't changed. We're 1:30 to 2 o'clock every day. We're the last office hour. They used to, well, maybe that's better for me because I used to have the morning with you guys. Any questions, you got to email me. There's really no excuse now not to say, well, I didn't know what to do. If you don't know, you have to email me. Okay? Communication is key at this point going forward here. Okay? So you'll notice they go all the way down, and I have some typo. I don't know why it keeps kicking out evaluate, but ignore. But everything will be there, and you'll see the Friday stuff there. On Friday, I do want you to log in. We're going to play a live game on the 17th, so I want everybody there. So at 1:30, you should be there for office hours. And I will be taking attendance to make sure everybody's there, okay? So with that being said, let's get moving forward with a lesson here on Bush's bio in the Persian Gulf War. Okay, so let me click this and this. Let's go. Look at what a cutie he is. Oh, I love it. Okay. So, where were the Bushes from? I know up here it says Texas, but that's not exactly correct. They were born in Massachusetts. Okay. Early on, was a Navy pilot. And while fighting in the Pacific, he had a girlfriend. His name was Barbara. I'm sorry, her name was Barbara. My bad. Right? And he named his plane Barbara. I don't know if that's a cute thing or not. We'll see at that point going forward here. But Barbara got shot down in the Pacific. And H.W. was the only one to survive. And he sort of... hold on a second. I'm going to turn a light on here. So a little bit easier to see me. It's a shadow, so can't really do anything about it. But he was swimming in the ocean for a while, and then he got stung by one of these Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfishes, one of those giant ones with the big gangly arms and thing. So he looked up after trying to swim, one-armed, and after hours upon hours, he finally was ready to slip beneath the waves. He said goodbye to Barbara, and he was ready to go, and we would have never had HW. But then all of a sudden, he looked over, and what popped up? And it's not just a guy's fist. Out of the water was a periscope. The USS Finback just happened to surface to run on top and use its recharge its batteries. So HW was picked up and saved. Now, what's unfortunate was they weren't allowed to radio back that they had picked up HW. So when he did get home, Barbara smacked him and then gave him a hug and everything at that point. So kind of interesting point. He's a graduate of Yale in '48. Okay, while there, member of a super secret fraternity, not secret, but well-known and hard to get into fraternity known as Skull and Bones. Okay, moved to Texas in '48 to become an oil man, but the problem is he's not accepted as a Texan. What do we mean by that? He's short, he's got a bit of a nasally voice, like we talked about with Eisenhower, and he's just not broad. He's about 135 to 145 pounds. Most people think of Texans as big and bold and brash, right? Okay, there you can see the listing of all these events. Ran for the Senate, won in the House, ambassador to the UN, that's foreign policy. Chairman of the RNC, that's domestic policy. Excuse me, liaison to China's foreign policy. Director of the CIA's foreign policy. Vice president for 8 years. So, of all the people we've talked about, he probably has the best resume going forward here, okay? He promised during the campaign of '88 to maintain Reagan's policies. And if you look at the map, pretty straightforward, 426 to 111, pretty straight and honest and, clear at that point. You'll see a pretty easy win, okay? Dukakis, Governor Mike Dukakis, I'll show you a picture, did not run a very good campaign. I'm going to give you a clip of that today and a clip of that tomorrow. Note the solid South, by the way. of everything that's going on. There are two things, and this is the first one. This is a picture of Dukakis in a tank, okay, trying to show his toughness and everything of that nature. Two things should sort of be jumping out at you at this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One, there are cars. This looks like this was taken in a Target Pine Creek parking lot, right? You really shouldn't see that. And second, the guy's wearing a tie. I mean, if you're going to hop into a tank and hold a machine gun, you can take the tie off, right? But he didn't, and it just didn't seem to connect with people. Tomorrow's class, I'm going to show you a CNN clip, which really spelled the end for the Dukakis campaign going forward here, okay? The biggest thing that happened in the Bush presidency is the Persian Gulf War, okay? Guys, note that it's going to last for about 6 weeks. That's it. Not like the conflicts we've been involved with in the last 30 years, okay? Remember, we supported Iraq in the Iran-Iraq War, illegal bank loans, we helped build them the fourth biggest army, and then we have to destroy them. So, in August of 1990, Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq, invades Kuwait because Iraq owed billions to Kuwait for their support during the Iran-Iraq War. Guys, Kuwait, this tiny little nation, I'll show you a picture of it later, at that time had 10% of the world's oil. And Saudi Arabia, its neighbor, had 30% of the world's. So if all of a sudden you let this brutal dictator, who of course we put into power in the 60s, we'll get to that later, control almost 50% of the world's oil supply, we got an issue there, right? So 30 nations came together to help liberate Kuwait. We placed the UN placed economic sanctions, and we started to roll forward here, right? So here's Iraq, here's Kuwait, this little thing, and they share a border with Saudi Arabia, okay? And we'll talk about this when we come back to that going throughout, okay? But the operation is going to be broken into two things: Desert Shield and then Desert Storm. Desert Shield was meant to hold the line and protect Saudi Arabia until the coalition of nations could come together. Desert Storm is going to be the invasion and the attacking and bombing of Iraq, okay? So there he is, my man, Stormin' Norman. And guys, anytime I see anybody named Norman, they immediately become Stormin' Norman. I love it, okay? But there's Schwarzkopf, those of you in German. I think that roughly translates into General Blackhead. Oh my God, they're so annoying. But he said, we're going to protect Saudi Arabia, but look at the troop numbers. Guys, that's 690,000 troops, including 540,000 U.S. Guys, we're taking the Vietnam War, our involvement in Vietnam, and now transposing it to the Middle East, along with the assistance of 150,000 troops from around the world. Okay? Now, you don't need to take this for notes, but I just want to show you these countries sent troops. And note the important here, okay? Big, 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 okay? But Muslim, 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 right? So it's not just the United States doing this. This is the United States and the world, including countries in the Middle East, helping us to free them. Some countries couldn't send troops, so they sent stuff. Ships, planes, they bombed, they sent Band-Aids, whatever, right? We talk all this stuff. Poland sent some pierogies over. That's fine, right? And then Japan and Germany said, we'd write the check, right? So that helped offset the cost of everything going forward. So on January 17th, when Saddam did not pull his forces out of Kuwait, we launched Desert Storm. For 37 days, guys, we bombed the living crap out of Iraq and Kuwait. The focus was, guys, destroying the enemy without destroying the people. Okay, I'm going to show you a clip of this tomorrow when instead of taking out a whole city, we took out a building or we took out a bridge. And there weren't a lot of casualties on top of that throughout. We also launched a plane called an F-117 that was a stealth bomber that would fly through the desert at night. You couldn't see it. And the problem is, enemy tanks, just like if your car is sitting outside in a parking lot all day, it's going to get hot. So if you go in at night, the inside of that car is still probably pretty warm from being baked on by the sun. Well, the desert, cold, the tank, hot. Using thermal imaging, we could easily see those enemy tanks at night. Okay? After 37 days, we just started invading Kuwait and southern Iraq. We launched the greatest tank offensive since World War II in the Battle of the Bulge. Now, guys, in 100 hours, 4 days, okay, 4. Sorry, 4. Right? It was over at that time. Okay, very little resistance left, and you could see that the devastation here. In fact, the area from Kuwait City to Basra in southern Iraq, if I go back, might be able to see part of it real quick here. Quick. Right, so there's Basra, there's Kuwait City, this escape here. Okay, you can see it runs along the coast here. It was nicknamed, guys, the Highway of Death because we launched and bombed the area with napalm, which is that jelly gasoline that burns very hot, which was actually made illegal by the United Nations in '77, and thousands of casualties of the Iraqis running. Okay, so overall results: 148 casualties, guys. That's it, dead. Okay, any loss of life is terrible, but that number is pretty good for a military conflict. Unfortunately, about 20% of them were friendly fire. 458 wounded. Guys, the cost, which is important to me, is it only cost us $7 million. The rest of the world picked up the tab. You know, Japan, Germany, other nations around the world, that we just basically split the cost throughout. Pretty cool thing. And Bush's popularity, guys, gets to 89%. It's the highest we've ever talked about for President Lloyd Ford. Iraq. Now, some people ask a question. This is a very important question here. Why didn't we go get Saddam? That wasn't the goal of the mission. Okay, the goal of the mission was to, and HW was asked about this. He said, if we remove Saddam, we don't know who we're going to get. We might get somebody worse. And we want to maintain the balance of power in the region. So, we left him in, he's a bad guy. I get it. But we left him in charge. These are estimates here. Did we find weapons of mass destruction? Yes. Okay, we found nerve gas and mustard gas. We destroyed it out in the desert. So as of 1991, he didn't have any. Okay, we'll get to that later when we get to the Iraq War. Okay, together again, Ronnie and Gorby. Okay, that's where we're going to start tomorrow. A couple of clips. Make sure you follow the directions, things I need you to do. Have a great Tuesday. We miss you. Go Tigers.